Picture this. You're at home with your guitar or keyboard and your bandmate is far away. You want to rehearse, practice new song ideas or just share a vocal take. Normally, you would send your recordings back and forth and wait for the next rehearsal date. Online jamming makes it possible to actually play together in real time. The principle is simple. Your sound goes into your computer, through a DAW, and then it travels over the internet to the other musicians. At the same time, their sound comes back to you. If the setup is good, you can rehearse, improvise, or even perform as if you were in the same room. There are, however, a few obstacles, latency being the big one. That little delay between playing a note and someone else hearing it can ruin the groove if it gets too high. Sound quality can also take a hit, and then there's reliability. A Wi-Fi drop, an internet glitch, or a router update can interrupt everything. In this tutorial, we'll look at three well-known platforms. Jamulus, free, open source, lightweight, but a bit rough on the edges. Sonobus, also free. It focuses on high quality audio with flexible routing, really simple to use. And then there's JamKazam, packed with features, rehearsals, streaming, recording. You can do everything, even video. The free version, however, is limited. If you want to get the full experience, you'll need to pay a monthly fee, which isn't too much. Each of these work in their own way, but the goal is the same. Connect musicians with the lowest latency possible. The technology has improved a lot. With the right setup, you can log in with someone across the world and feel like you're in the same rehearsal space. It's not perfect. You need to understand your hardware, your software, and the limits of the internet. That's where this guide comes in, to show you step by step how to make online jamming work. It will be quite long, contain quite a lot of information. If you're totally new to this, I highly recommend though watching the whole thing through. If you already know a thing or two, just skip to the part that is of interest to you. You can find the chapters in the description. Let's dive in.
Let there be light!
Before we touch any software, let's set up the hardware. This is the foundation. If your gear is not right, no amount of software tweaking will fix it. In this chapter, we'll have a look at the must-have equipment, how to connect it, how latency works. Latency is the #1 factor that decides if your jam will feel natural or not. To jam online, you need 4 things. An instrument or a microphone, an audio interface, a computer, headphones. That's a bare minimum. Let's check them one by one. I'm going to assume you already know the basics about connecting an instrument to your audio interface, because explaining that would be a completely different tutorial. Guitarists and bassists plug straight into the audio interface. Singers or players of acoustic instruments will need a microphone. A simple dynamic mic like a Shure SM58 works great for vocals or loud instruments. A condenser mic gives you more detail but only makes sense in a quiet room. Drummers are better off with electronic kits. Acoustic drums need multiple mics, which makes things more complex. Electronic kits can be connected by stereo outputs or a MIDI to USB cable. Keyboard players can connect directly with line outputs or use MIDI to trigger sound in the computer. The rule is simple. However you normally record your instrument at home, this is how you should feed it into the computer for online jamming. Don't overthink this. Connect everything to your audio interface like you normally do. It's the same thing. From here, we'll set it all up using the free software Reaper. We'll do that in the next chapter. Almost any modern interface will work, but not all are equal. Here is what really matters. On Windows, you want an audio interface with its own dedicated drivers, and it should be able to handle low latency. On a Mac, Core Audio is already built in. I'll explain more about this later on. In general, if you have a decent audio interface worth $100 or so, you should be able to play online. I personally use a Quantum 2626. It's extremely low latency, but it needs a Thunderbolt connection. That's a subject that goes beyond the scope of this tutorial. You must be able to monitor with headphones. This is a must. Plug into a reliable port, not a cheap USB hub. Budget audio interface like a Focusrite, Scarlett, Behringer UMC, they can get the job done. But higher end interfaces like RME and Motu will improve your overall experience. A mixer can also work, but only if it has a USB interface built in. A mixer and an audio interface may look similar, but they're built for different jobs. A mixer is designed to combine multiple audio signals and send them to speakers. It's great for live shows, practice rooms, where you want to balance your vocals, guitars and drums in one place. Some studio mixers have a USB port, which allow them to act like an interface. That way the mix signal can get into your computer. An audio interface, on the other hand, is built just to get the sound in and out of your computer with the lowest possible latency. It does not mix in the traditional sense. Instead, it gives you a clean conversion, stable drivers, and usually less noise. For online jamming, this difference matters. If you want to use a standard analog mixer without USB, it won't help because it cannot send the digital audio to your computer. If you use an USB mixer, it will work, but the sound you send out will be already mixed down. That means you can't adjust individual instrument levels once it reaches the Jam software, unless you, of course, have a mixer that can send all channels separately to your DAW. With a dedicated audio interface, each input goes directly into your computer. This gives you more control in your DAW, in our case, Reaper. You can set levels, add effects, route signals, however you want. So a USB mixer can be handy if you want to plug in several instruments at once and keep the setup simple. But if you want the lowest latency, the most flexibility, the cleanest signal, usually a dedicated audio interface is the better choice. When it comes to your computer, you don't need a powerhouse, but you do need something stable. Any recent laptop or desktop with 8 gigabytes of RAM will do. PC, a Mac is fine. The real factor is not speed, but stability and how well your driver handles audio. Turn off background apps. On a laptop, use performance mode instead of battery saving. If possible, use wired Ethernet and keep your computer focused on the jamming software. That way you get fewer interruptions. We'll go into detail about this in the next chapter. Your internet speed needs to be somewhat decent. If you have a normal internet connection nowadays, for most people it will be okay. I will now add on the screen the recommended upload and download speeds. If you have a fast connection, then you don't need to pay attention to this at all. Headphones are essential. Speakers will feed back into the mic and ruin everything. Close back headphones are the safest choice in this case. They block outside noise and don't leak much sounds. Open back headphones sound more natural, but they can bleed into the mic. Comfort is key. You will wear these for long sessions. Get a pair you can stand to wear for hours. Just make sure, I'll say it again, you do not want your monitors turned on during your jam session. Latency is delay, the time it takes from your sound to travel to your instrument, into your interface, through the computer, across the internet and back to your ears. When jamming online, we have to deal with two types of latency. Local, from you to your computer, and round-trip latency from your computer to your bandmates and back. This is also the most problematic part of jamming online and the hardest thing to get right. Too much latency simply means you won't be able to play together. Not everyone experiences latency latency in the same way. Some people are highly sensitive to even small amounts of delay, while others hardly notice it at all. In a band situation, this becomes clear. Experienced players can adapt to a bit of latency and still keep the groove, while people who are new to playing online struggle more. I even managed to play in sync with people in New York while I was in Holland. It worked, but usually it's better to keep things local. How playable it is depends on your own sensitivity, the quality of your connection, the distance and connections of other players, and everyone's playing style basically. As a general rule, however, the closer your bandmates, the lower the latency. Because of physics, you simply won't be able to play with someone on the other side of the world. The following things affect latency. Your interface. Good interface can easily get under 10 milliseconds without affecting playability. A 10 milliseconds latency means there's a delay of 1/100th of a second between you playing a note and hearing it back. This may sound like an extremely low number, but believe me, you'll start to notice it when that number gets higher. You'll start to notice it quickly. Here's an overview of audio interfaces and their reported latency. Pause the video if needed. Buffer size. Inside your DAW, you set the buffer size. A smaller buffer lowers latency but uses more CPU. Larger buffers are safer but slower. For jamming, always use a lower stable buffer. We'll talk more about it later. Network latency. Your internet connection adds delay and all sorts of artifacts. Think of dropouts, glitches, clicks. Wi-Fi is unpredictable. Wired internet always is the better choice. Don't take this lightly. Put the effort in to get cabled internet to your computer because it will make your connection way more stable and give you a much better jamming experience. As a rule, total latency under 20 milliseconds feels somewhat natural. Over 40 milliseconds, it becomes very hard to play online. Under 10 milliseconds, it feels like you're in the same room. That's a goal, but very hard to achieve. Don't worry, it will be more clear in the next chapter. So here's a basic chain how everything will be connected. Plug your instrument or mic into the audio interface. Connect the audio interface to your computer with USB or Thunderbolt if you're on a Mac. Plug your headphones into the audio interface. Turn off direct monitoring. This is very important. Run the jamming software and go online. From here, all sounds flows in and out of the computer, in through the interface, into the DAW, out to the jam software. Then back to your computer, back into your headphones, and you should be happily jamming. Now let's talk about direct monitoring. You can skip this part if you already understand what direct monitoring is. Direct monitoring can be confusing if you never dealt with it. The idea is simple. When direct monitoring is on, the interface sends the input signal straight back to your headphones before it reaches your computer. That means you hear yourself instantly with no delay at all. For recording on your own, this is great. For online jamming, however, it's a big problem because what you hear in your headphones is not the same that goes to the jam software. You'll be out of sync with others. To jam online, you need to turn direct monitoring off so you only hear the processed sound that goes back to your computer and the jam platform. This way everyone stays locked to the same timing, even if it feels a bit delayed compared to direct monitoring. On popular interfaces like the Focusrite Scarlett, direct monitoring is controlled by a switch or a knob on the front. On several models you'll find a little button called direct monitor. When that button is lit, direct monitoring is active. Press it again to turn it off. On other interfaces, you may see a knob that blends between input and playback. Make sure that knob is turned fully to playback so you only hear the sound coming back from the computer. It may take a minute to get used to the slightly delayed sound in your headphones, but this is really the only way online jamming works. Everyone has to be monitoring the same round-trip path. Otherwise, each player is locked to their own local timing and the group falls apart. Once you're in a group like that, you'll quickly find out. So before we head to the next chapter, here's a quick summary to make sure you got all the hardware stuff right. At the very least, you'll need an instrument or mic, an audio interface, a decent computer, headphones, direct monitoring needs to be turned off, stable Wi-Fi, but preferably wired Ethernet. Before we get into the software, we need to make sure your computer is ready for real-time audio. Even with the best hardware, a badly tuned computer can ruin your sessions with clicks, dropouts, and lag. So let's get over a few simple steps that will make your system stable for online jamming. This is a big one. Your computer should never be running in power saving mode. On Windows, go to your power options and choose high performance. On a Mac, make sure Energy Saver is set to keep the computer awake while you're working. This stops the CPU from slowing down when it thinks you're idle. On a PC, I highly recommend installing ParkControl. It controls the power modes. By default, Windows puts CPU cores to sleep. That saves energy, but it can add a small delay when the cores wake up again. There's a free program called ParkControl that fixes all this. It lets you keep the CPU cores active and running at full speed. This makes audio processing much smoother. I already made a video about ParkControl, so check that out if you want a step-by-step guide. I really recommend installing this. It really can be a game changer for your audio setup. It solved all of my issues with glitches and crackles and so on. Keep your audio drivers up to date. That can also be a big cause of glitches. Update USB, the chipset, the graphic drivers as well. Outdated drivers can interrupt audio without you realizing it. Close apps you don't need while you're jamming, browsers, cloud sync, antivirus scans. They all eat CPU and bandwidth. Turn off Wi-Fi and Bluetooth if you're not using them. If your CPU overheats, it will slow itself down to protect the hardware. That kills audio performance. Keep your vents clear, use a laptop stand or cooling pad if needed, and don't let your main drive get completely full. On Windows, disable system sounds and make sure in your audio settings everything is looking good. And also make sure to set your Windows and audio interface to 48 kHz. This is what most of the online jamming programs prefer. You can do this in the sound settings in your taskbar. During editing, I realized some of you might not know where to change the sound settings. So I made this quick video on your Windows desktop. Go to the bottom right corner taskbar and right-click your sound icon. Sorry, my Windows is in Dutch. Open your sound settings. On the next page, you'll see your output channel from your audio interface, in my case, a PreSonus. Click the little arrow, and there you can change it to 48,000 Hertz, or maybe it's already on that setting. I have no idea how to do this on a Mac, but it must be the same process, so you will be able to figure that out, I guess. I hope. Once you've done these things, your computer is ready to handle real-time audio. You will get fewer glitches, you can run lower buffer sizes, and your jams will be simply a lot smoother. Reaper is a digital audio workstation, also called a DAW. A DAW is software that records, edits, process audio on your computer, basically. If you heard of Logic, Cubase, Ableton, Pro Tools, those are all DAWs. The reason we use Reaper is simple. It's light, stable, affordable, and very flexible when it comes to routing audio. You can set it up to take sound from your mic or instrument, add effects, and then send the processed signal directly into the jamming software. In other words, it acts as a middleman between your hardware and the online jam platform. Reaper also runs on both Windows and Mac, and even Linux with some tweaking. That makes it accessible to almost everyone. You don't need to use Reaper if you don't want to. You can skip this whole step if you want. If you don't want to use any effects or special routing, then you can simply plug in your mic or instrument into your audio interface and send it straight to the jamming software. No Reaper in between. Move on to the next chapter and we'll see each other there. If you want full flexibility, however, and be able to record your jams and do so much more, then this chapter is recommended. Go to the Reaper website and download the installer for your operating system. The installation is small compared to other DAWs. Run the installer and follow the steps. On Windows, it will ask you if you want 32-bit or 64-bit, the version, which one you want. Always pick 64-bit unless your computer is very old. On Mac, it installs like any other application. Reaper offers a 60-day trial, and after that you can buy a discounted license or a full commercial license. The trial, however, stays fully functional after the trial period. It's up to you if you want to pay. If you feel like you want to support the creators, then you can pay. During installation, it's very important to select Reroute. This is an optional component that Reaper can install, and we need it for online jamming. Reroute acts as a virtual audio driver. It takes the audio that comes out of Reaper and it makes it available as an input for other software like Jamulus and JamKazam. If you skip this step, the Jam software won't be able to see Reaper's output. That means your effects and routing inside Reaper will never reach the session. With Reroute enabled, Reaper becomes a bridge. Your mic and instruments go in. You can add EQ, compression, reverb, and then Reroute sends that process signal straight into the Jam platform. Without Reroute, you'd be limited to raw input from your interface, which defeats the purpose of using Reaper in the first place. So make sure to tick that box during install. If not, you can always go to the preferences later on and do it there. An interface alone can send audio into Jamulus or JamKazam directly, but using Reaper in between gives you more control. You can add effects like EQ, compression, reverb, delay, balance levels between different inputs, use virtual instruments or a MIDI controller, route your signal in flexible ways, and monitor your sound the same way others will hear it. Reaper makes sure the sound you're sending to the Jam software is already polished, so you don't rely on raw input. It also allows you to quickly mute, adjust levels, or swap effects without touching the Jam software itself. Latency is critical when setting up Reaper. Inside preferences, you'll see settings for buffer size. The buffer is like a safety net for your computer to process audio. A smaller buffer means lower latency, but it also puts more strain on the CPU. A larger buffer is easier on the CPU, but it adds delay. For online jamming, you want the lowest buffer size that stays stable on your system. Start with 128 samples. If you get clicks or dropouts, raise it to 256. Some high-end interfaces can handle 64 samples or even lower without issues. Always test what your setup can handle. Go as low as possible. If your system stays stable and you don't experience any sound popping or clicking, then you're good to go. Reaper also shows you the reported latency of your system. Keep an eye on that total round-trip latency. Ideally, this stays under 10 milliseconds on your local system. That way, once network latency is added, you'll be in a playable range. One big reason to use Reaper is plugins. Plugins are small pieces of software that process your audio. They come in different formats like VST, AU, AAX. Reaper supports almost all of them. For jamming online, you'll usually stick to a few basics. EQ to shape the tone of your mic or instrument. Compression to even out levels, sound levels that is. Reverb or delay to add space to the sound. Most of these effects don't add much extra latency, especially if you use Reaper's own built-in plugins. Watch out for plugins that use look-ahead, so-called look-ahead processing on linear phase EQ, because that can add extra delay. Reaper shows you the plugin delay compensation in the track, so you can always check it there. Keep your chain simple. The more plugins you add, the more CPU you use. For online jamming, stability is more important than having a perfect studio mix, if you ask me. As mentioned before, remember to always turn off direct monitoring on your interface. You want to monitor through Reaper so you hear the same process signal that goes to the Jam software. In Reaper, make sure input monitoring is enabled on your track. That way you hear effects and the sound exactly as it's being sent out. Reaper may seem like overkill if you never use the DAW, but for online jamming it's really the perfect tool. It handles latency well, it lets you add effects, and it gives you control over how your signal is sent to the Jam software. From here on, we're gonna set up the software itself. We're gonna add channels and effects, and I'm gonna show you the inputs and outputs and how Reroute works. And once we're done with that, we'll go to the actual jamming software. So let's move on. There are 3 platforms for online jamming that we're going to take a look at today. Each has its own strengths and weaknesses. You're free to search for other software. In the end, they're pretty much all the same. Some have more functions, some are free, some are paid, some support video. Try out and see what sticks. I'll add a download link for the 3 we'll use in the description. Sonobus, it's flexible, easy to set up. It runs on almost anything from Windows and Mac to iOS and Android. You can easily adjust audio quality depending on your internet connection. It's simple and quick. I recommend to start with this one if you want to begin as easy as possible. Jamulus is open source and completely free. Being it open source, that means anyone can get the source code and create their own software out of it, which actually happens. Jamulus is the base software, and if you want to use their typical software, then Jamulus itself is a great start. Just like the other programs, you can join public servers or create a private one. If you're comfortable with tweaking settings and looking at a less polished interface, then Jamulus is for you. Jamulus gives the best audio quality, I think, when playing on nearby servers. At least for me, I cannot even tell you what makes it a better audio quality. It just sounds really good with my headphones on, and if I have in a nearby city, if I have a group playing, it sounds just great. It's quick and lightweight, so check out Jamulus if you want. JamKazam is the most feature-packed, the most professional piece of software. It includes built-in tools for rehearsals, streaming, backing tracks. You can play with backing tracks. And it has internal recording. We can record in Reaper, but JamKazam also has the option to record the session on their server. The trade-off is that the best features require a paid plan, and it's certainly a bit heavier on system resources. So if you're using a laptop that's a bit older and you want the most lightweight software, then don't use JamKazam. If your computer can handle a bit more, then check out JamKazam. It looks great. It's most polished, and paying for it is certainly worth it if you plan on jamming often. I believe the monthly plan starts at $5 or so, and it goes up to $10 maybe. You can try it for free for sure. I believe it's 5 hours a month for free. They also seem to keep adding options for sharing video with bandmates, and they have a developer team working hard on the software. So if you are into that, then JamKazam might be your best choice. We'll go through the basic setup of each platform to get you going. So we opened up Reaper, and bear with me because I normally don't use Reaper that much. I only use it to jam online, so I'm not that good at it, but it's pretty much the same as most DAWs. So once you get used to one DAW, you can use the basics of most DAWs. I use Studio One normally. Anyway, we don't need much. It's pretty simple. So let's go through the basics. First, let's make sure your audio device is set up correctly. And for that, we need to go to Options, Preferences. And on the left, you see your menus. Excuse me. There you go to Audio Device. And there you want to make sure you have your ACO driver selected. And you have to select, I don't know which audio device you use, so you select which audio device you currently have. My case is PreSonus Quantum. Then you have to enable the inputs, of course, and there you can select the range of inputs that you want to use. I use input 1 through 8, so select whatever you have there. It might be just 2 inputs, might be 16 inputs. Output range, the most important part for now is your main out. That's where your audio comes back from your computer to your headphones or your monitors. And we're not going to use the monitors, just the headphones. Anyway, you need to have that selected or you won't hear any audio at all. Then your ASIO configuration, that's where you select your latency as we talked about earlier. Again, it looks different on your in your software, but you want to make sure 2 things are selected here, and that's 48 kilohertz, and your block size, your buffer size, it should be as low as possible, at least as low as you can go without getting pops and crackles, and as long as it's stable, you're good to go, and try to keep it as low as possible. You might end up having to go higher though, to 128 or 256. Just try it out. So from there, what else do we need? In the audio menu, make sure you untick close audio device when stopped. An application is inactive. This means if Reaper is in the background, it won't disable your audio basically. And in case you have MIDI instruments, e-drums, keyboards, anything like that, you can enable them here. I have an e-drum, for example, which is currently not connected, so it says not found. Anyway, any MIDI interface, you can add them here. So that's that part. Then we go to setting up the audio channels for your inputs and outputs. Basically, the setup is we're gonna have an input. Well, it's also an output channel. It will get clear. That's where it's a parent channel, and from that we add a few child channels, and they send the input from your microphones and instruments to the parent channel, and the parent channel sends it to the jamming software, and that works like this. You insert a track, that's your parent channel, and that will be the output from your computer to the jamming software. So you can name it output or anything you want, just type it here in the black bar. It won't have any direct inputs, at least not this channel, so you can select input none. From there, we'll add a few child channels, and this totally depends on how many instruments or mics you want to use. If you only use one mic for singing, just add one channel. If you use a bass guitar, electric guitar, an e-drum, keyboard. Sometimes I have up to 5 channels, so you can add as many as you want. Just click the plus button 3 times as an example in my case, and then you want to make sure they end up as child channels. So hit the plus icon here, and there you see we now have a parent channel and 3 child channels, and this means all the routing from these 3 channels go through the output of the parent channel. Okay, then you have to click route or route, however you want to pronounce it. I call it route. In case you don't see this button, you can also find it in your mixer at the bottom, and your mixer, every channel here affects the same channel you see here. So that's this output is obviously this output. You can use the fader, you can add effects here, and you might not want to use this at all. You can do everything here. In case you don't see the routing button here, you can also find it at the bottom, but I would suggest going to options and themes, and then theme adjuster. And here you can adjust and hide, unhide any button you might not see or do not want to see. So your routing button might be hidden, so you can unhide it here. Then, and pay attention because this is important. You click the routing button of the output channel. And you want to make sure you untick the master send channel because that's the channel that's sent to your monitors or headphones in our case, and you don't want that to be enabled right now because you will hear anything you play directly before it goes online, and that defeats the whole purpose of playing with other people because you won't be in time, as we talked about earlier. So make sure you untick that, and then instead you add a new hardware output, and that's where reroute appears, which we installed earlier during the installation of Reaper. And here select reroute 1 and 2. So we're telling this parent channel to use the output channel reroute 1 and 2 to go to the online jamming software. Well, you'll see it later. You understand what happens. So that's set up correctly. Then you add your instruments or mics or whatever you want. So it will look like this. In my case, I have my mic set up and input 6. So line 6. We don't see anything yet because you have to record arm the channel. So now you see it being enabled. This is my microphone, and you see it goes to the parent channel. And we want to add a guitar. I have my guitar set up and input 2. We'll check the sound from that later in the jamming software. As you notice, we don't hear anything right now, again, because we have the master output disabled. And make sure you arm this track as well, otherwise we won't hear it. And then for the last track, let's add a drum software for my eardrums, which aren't connected right now, but it's just an example. So at the bottom here, I'm gonna add a slate drum software, and it looks like this. It doesn't really matter. It's just an example. Record arm, and then input MIDI. And then we're gonna add one more channel, and we don't want that to be a child channel. So click the plus icon again here and again. So what this channel is, it's the input. And why input? Because this channel will pick up the sound from your jamming software when it comes back. So you arm that track as well. And let's remove this. And this input should be input stereo, reroute, and 1 and 2. So we'll tell the jamming software to use the reroute software, and we'll pick it back up here in this channel and go to the routing. And here the master send channels should be enabled because this needs to put out the sound to your headphones. That's it for setting this up. And from here you can add any effects you want to your voice, to your guitar. You can add if you have any guitar software, bass software, drum software, or let's say in your this channel, your mic channel, you want to add an EQ, or let me see, developers, Caucus. So in your effects library, you will find the Cocos effects. These are all the effects that come with Reaper for free. So you can use these. Let's say you want to add a compression. I'm not going to go through all the settings, but right now there's compressors on your voice, and maybe some EQing, and just the basics. Let's see, a reverb. So you can shape your voice in a way you think it sounds nice. And as long as you stick to these really basic effects, it won't affect latency pretty much at all. As soon as you start using third-party plugins and add really complicated reverbs, etc., I really wouldn't recommend that for doing that online, for playing online. But as long as you use this, you're totally fine. This might not be the right reverb actually. Anyway, you can browse through the effects and use whatever you want. So for now, I'm gonna delete them because we don't need those right now. And I think this is pretty much it when it comes to setting up Reaper. So from here on, we go to the next part, which is actually using the jamming software, setting up the 3 different jam softwares that we use in this tutorial. Okay. Alrighty then, let's go to the fun part where we actually get to jam real soon, or at least you will after this tutorial's done in hopefully 10 minutes or so. I realize how long it takes and how much quicker I could have done it, but yeah, this is the way I do it, unfortunately. So yeah, we set up Reaper and now we're ready to go to our first jamming software, which is Sonobus. Or let's start with Jamulus. Both are free and easy to use. I prefer Jamulus, so let's go there. In your browser, go to jamulus.io. It redirects to the Dutch version in my case. And in English it will say something like start now, and there you download the installer. I'm not going to go through that. It's the same with all 3 pieces of software we're going to look at, Sonobus and JamKazam. You just need to go to the site and download them. So once you downloaded them and installed Jamulus, it's a really easy process. It will look something like this. So remember, Reaper is running in the background. We don't do anything with it. We just let it run for now. We're going to check if the inputs and outputs are correct, which they are, but I'll show you how to check that. In Jamulus, the start screen looks like this. And we're going to go to File and Connection Setup. No, we're not. We're going to go to Settings. My profile. You can add your profile here. My name, Frank. Instrument, electric guitar. Add what you want there. Then your audio network setup. Audio device. Here you don't select your quantum device, your audio device. In my case, the PreSonus Quantum, because that will skip the whole Reaper in between, and that's why we set up Reaper, so we can use all those channels. So with every piece of software, you can also select your audio driver, but that means you have way less possibilities to add effects, to record locally, and it just makes things more complicated. Unless you only want to use a microphone or only guitar, you want to plug in directly and not fiddle around with Reaper, and maybe your audio device has some built-in effects like my Apollo, for instance, which I'm currently not using, which can add reverb and compression. So you don't need Reaper. You can select your audio device right here, but we're using Reaper, and again, we're using reroute. So audio device, select reroute. Then input channel mapping, reroute client 1 and 2, channel 1 and 2. Output channel mapping, again, Reaper 1 and 2, because in Reaper, we told the output to use reroute 1 and 2. So in Jamulus, we say, hey, we want that output and we want it to come in Jamulus, and we're going to send it out again through a reroute, and it goes to your input in Reaper, where we selected Jamulus as the reroute as the input. So I hope that makes sense right now, even if it doesn't, just do as I do. And here select audio channels stereo. I assume you want to do that. Audio quality high, unless you have a really low spec machine, a very slow internet connection. Then you may want to select low, but I guess most people can safely select high here. And buffer delay, I assume it picks up the buffer delay, the buffer size I set on my computer, on my audio device. Either way, it will select the best settings for you. So this is pretty much the only thing you have to do. Don't worry about this too much, your input balance. So you can remove that. Then we're going to connect, and there you'll see all the channels. It's Friday afternoon in Holland, so there isn't much going on, but still there are quite a few people online, I have to say, to my surprise. And here something really important, you see your ping time, and it should be obvious. Green is good, yellow is not so good, and red, don't bother going into these rooms. Because you won't be able to play online. It's that simple. Even here, 30 milliseconds, it might be doable depending on how the other players are and how the connections are. Anywhere here, you're usually safe. So before we're gonna check out this blues rock room, we're gonna go to a random channel with no one online. You see 0 out of 12 people. And we want to do that to check our inputs. And now we hear a lot of delay, a lot. It's annoying because you hear yourself twice. And that also means it works. So as you can see, it goes in Jamulus, so it picks up our sound, and then it arrives at Reaper, and that's what we want. So let's say I mute myself here, sorry, then you see no input in Reaper, so everything is working. We can try, for example, let's unmute myself and check the drums. Hey, we have sound. Okay, let's check the guitar if it's connected correctly. Yep, that works as well. So it works. I'm gonna mute myself. So that's great. That's awesome. This is the basics for every jamming software. Some have different settings, some are more complicated, but this is how it works. You have the inputs, you have the outputs, jamming software in between. And the fun thing now is, because you're using Reaper, we have this record armed, and you can, as soon as you start a session, just hit the record button, and this is locally, so this is not going through the Jamulus software right now, but you will see once you start playing online, the input will record everything you play online. And recording it locally also means you have the tracks you play separated, isolated, in case you want to use that. But the whole recording from the whole band will record here on this input channel, and you can easily let it run in the background. It won't, the CPU will hardly pick it up, so that's no problem. You can jam all you want, leave it running the whole evening if you want. I sometimes have 3 hours of recording, and that just works fine. We're going to stop it for now. Let's delete all. Okay. And now for the fun of it, let's check a random channel if there's anything going on. I checked this one earlier and it's just backing tracks playing, so it's not that interesting. Let's see, Jamulus in London, what they're up to.
Could have been cigarette smell, beer smell. Yeah. A hell of a noise.
Speaking of cigarette, I'm gonna have a cigarette and a coffee, and I'm gonna change bases because I'm playing with my.
Yeah, well, yeah, the chatting and having a cigarette and beer. Let's go to the other software and see what's happening there. So let's go to Sonobus. Again, sonobus.net. Download it. You want to use either the Mac version or the Windows version, whatever you're using. I'm not going to download it, but it should be easy enough. Then you open Sonobus, and I'm already hearing myself. So let's see how I had it set up. Again, it's pretty much the same as in Jamulus. I have 48,000 hertz selected. Yeah, it picks up my audio driver and what I've selected there. Again, the most important is having reroute selected and your reroute inputs and outputs. It's the same. It's selected all the inputs and outputs, but you only need 1 and 2. But yeah, this is fine. Here there's some options, default sound quality. Again, if you have a low spec computer, you might want to lower it, but you should be fine with either one of these settings right here. Default jitter buffer, don't worry too much about that. Leave it on auto, it will select what's best for you. Don't bother with this. And that's it. Connect your displayed name. Go to public groups. Sorry, here select your your displayed name, and there are a few people online. Let's check if anything is going on. Yeah, that's a backing track. Let's disable that before I get demonetized. Oh wait, I don't have any monetization. Nothing is going on. It totally depends on the time of the day and where you are located, and so yeah. It's really bad, right? After this, going through all this, I want to show you some cool jams. Yeah, believe me, they are there, just not right now. And that's Sonobus. Quit. And now we go to JamKazam. Okay, JamKazam, same thing. Go to the website jamkazam.com. In this case, JamKazam is, as I mentioned earlier, it's more complicated. It has way more options. It can be nicer in some ways because you have those options, but it also means you have to sign up, create a profile. I'm not going to go through that right now because I already signed up at one point, but you have to do that here and then download the software. And you get, the last time I checked, 4 hours for free. And you have limited use, but you can certainly try it out and get a feel for what it's like. And from there you can pay if you want. I paid for quite a few months a while back, and then I moved on to Sonobus and Jamulus, and I didn't use JamKazam enough to justify paying for it, but it isn't that expensive, I believe. $10 a month or so, and you get quite a lot of options, but that's totally up to you. I have an affiliate link for it in the description. You can use it, you don't have to use it, and I think it makes me $1 or $2 if you sign up. Let's check it out. Either way, again, the other two options, Jamulus and Sonobus and other free software, are perfectly fine. If there's a reason you want to use JamKazam, then you can sign up and pay for it, and that's totally up to you. So JamKazam, it's a bit more heavy on resources on your CPU and on your computer in general. You have to do a few things the first time you open it up. So let's go to audio gear, most important. Let's remove everything I have currently going on. So you want to go to add new gear. Probably you should take the time to read this all. I'm going to go through it a bit more quick. Here on the second screen, it will ask you to select your input device, and as the other two pieces of software, as with the other two pieces of software, you want to use reroute, and it will find your input channels. It selects it automatically, and it tells you your latency is okay. If it tells you your latency isn't okay, it can have several reasons, as we talked about earlier, as the whole first part of the tutorial told you. It can be your internet connection. You might be using Wi-Fi instead of cabled connection. Your audio buffer might not be set up correctly. It's impossible for me to tell right now what the problem could be. So you really have to go back to the tutorial or do some reading about what it can be. In most cases, it should be in the screen right here. So audio input ports selected, reroute, audio output ports, same as input, reroute 1 and 2. Frame size, leave it at 2. Click next, and here we hear ourselves again with a slight delay. Don't bother with this, you can add MIDI, but we already doing it in Reaper. Click next. Here you can use a separate chat microphone besides your singing microphone. That's up to you. You might want to go through these settings, but for now we are not going to do that. Now we're gonna check a test tone. Yep, that works. Close. So what we're gonna do now is go back to the home screen, create a session, and quick start private. So before you go online and jam with other people, and I'm gonna tell you now, there won't be any people online right now with JamKazam during this time of day. Do a quick start private session so we can test our settings. And as you probably can hear right now, I can hear myself through JamKazam. And if I mute myself, there's no sound going through. So yeah, that works. There's not much to do or see here. It just means you can jam and everything works, and that's for testing purposes. JamKazam has quite a few settings, and they've been updating recently, I believe. So yeah, it's way too much to go through them all. There are some video settings in case you want to use video. I believe quite some people do that with JamKazam, and it works fine. I believe I don't have a webcam, so I don't do that. I'm not interested in that. Audio settings. Go through them. They have quite a big tutorial, and again, that's way too much to go through right now. We're sticking to the basics, but you can read all about these settings, and you can do quite a lot, and that's up to you. One thing I recommend is periodic auto resync. That means let's say every 50 minutes. Once you're in a session, I'm gonna mute myself for now. Once you're in a session and with other people, sometimes it goes out of sync, and you'll start noticing it. The drums are getting behind or in front of you, and when you click resync, it tries to sync everybody again, and that usually works fine. So automatic resync does just that every 50 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever you want. Is there anything important you should know right now? Audio frame size and booster. You can select, because I'm not subscribed, you're on the lowest audio setting, which is still more than fine, so don't worry about that. Once you pay, you can adjust these settings. So I think these are the basics you should know, and this will work. So this gives you, I believe, 4 hours of testing, and we can check if someone's online, but I doubt there is. Find session. Here you'll find the sessions under open jams, non-found. I think this is for us Europeans usually Friday evening, Saturday evening, and I think there are quite some Americans online then, and they usually are in a different time zone, of course. And when I'm online in the evening, they just start getting online once I log off. So I don't use JamKazam a lot. It's just not that interesting for me. But depending on your region, try it out. Again, it's free for a few hours, so you have nothing to lose, and you might like it. Again, there's a lot of options, and if you really want to go deep and want to do a lot of stuff, this might just be the perfect software for you. I think we've been through it all, and if I haven't driven you crazy by now with my arms and my ants, then congrats to you. I'm sure I wouldn't have managed watching this video that long, but yeah. I'm thinking about what else I can do or say that might be of interest to you, but I think we've done it all. Yay. Yeah, I'm happy we did it all because I'm done doing this tutorial. Okay, yeah, that's it. And that's it for the tutorial. We've covered the gear you need, how to set up Reaper, and the different platforms you can actually use to play with other people online. It's a lot to take in at once, but once you've gone through the setup a couple of times, it all starts to feel natural. The most important thing is to experiment. Try different buffer sizes, test your internet connection, and see which platform works best for you and your jam partners. Sometimes you run into hiccups. That's normal. The technology is good, but it's not magic. Be patient and you'll find a workflow that feels solid. If you got questions, any questions, don't hesitate to ask them in the comment section. I'll do my best to reply, and if I don't know the answer right away, I'll dig into it and maybe even cover it in a future video. Chances are, if you are wondering about something, someone else is too. So leave your comments and feel free to share your own experiences after setting this all up. I hope this helps you to get started with online jamming. For now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.